Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Drawing Science. Today we are going to draw the cute and adorable Vaquita. Now, vaquitas are cetaceans. That means they're in the family that includes dolphins and whales, and they're actually considered a porpoise. And before we get into drawing them, I just want to tell you a little bit about them. Some people have never heard of the vaquita, and they're really an important animal to know about. First of all, I will tell you that the word vaquita is Spanish for little cow, and little is a good word to describe them because vaquitas max out at about 5.5 feet in length. They are the smallest living cetacean, and they are also, unfortunately, the most endangered. I've got a little graph here. I'm just going to zoom in on it so you can kind of see. Back in 1997, they became a critically endangered species, or they were recognized as a critically endangered species. There were only about 600 of these animals left in the wild. Go forward to 2014, and their numbers had dropped to about 100 animals. In 2015, 1 year later, they're down to 60, and in 2016, down to 30, and there may be a few less than that now. So it's about as endangered as you can get, sadly. Now, these guys, they live in this tiny little spot in the Gulf of California, sometimes called the Sea of Cortez, and they're really only in this little bitty point right up here. So this is part of the problem. Now, what happens to these vaquita? Why are they so endangered? Well, they keep getting trapped in gill nets. Gill nets are like imagine a long volleyball net that just catches everything. And what they're fishing for are these totoaba, if I'm saying that correctly. And unfortunately, the vaquita are getting trapped in there as well. There are some laws in place to make these gill nets illegal. There's still, however, unfortunately, some gill net fishing that's going on. They need a lot of help. There's a lot of drastic things being done right now to help save them. So we're going to draw these little guys to help spread awareness about them, and just because they're just so darn cute. So let's start here. I'm going to get my blank piece of paper. There we go. And this drawing is going to be a little bit more advanced than some of the other drawings I've done so far. Not that much, though. It's still going to be a simple drawing. Don't let that intimidate you. It's just going to be a little bit more technical of a drawing. So we're going to start out. I'm going to use blue since I'm doing this digitally. This would be the same as you just drawing lightly with a pencil, because you're going to want to erase a lot of these original sketch lines. So I'm going to start with a circle. Okay, here's my circle. This is going to be our vaquita's head, and then I'm going to do kind of a upside down happy face. Some might call that a frown. I call it an upside down happy face. And this is the back of our vaquita, and see how it kind of curves right here. Just give it a little extra little oomph there. And then on the bottom down here, I'm going to do another happy face, only it's going to be a little shorter. So it's going to come down here, and it's just going to come up like this. See, it stops a little. It stops right where this one is doing that extra curve. Okay. Now, then I'm going to take and I'm going to just do another line like so. You can even round this off. This is where the tail's going to be. Now, this is our vaquita body shape. They have a very hydrodynamic shape to go through the water nice and fast. And just like our shark that we drew, they have some of the same fins, not all the same fins. So they have a dorsal fin, and this dorsal fin is going to start a little bit past the halfway point on their back. Now, you could just draw a triangle, but if we want to make this a little more technical, here's what I'm going to have you guys do. Give it a little curve right in here, and then make the top curved like this, and then it'll kind of curve towards the tail a little bit, down like so. Now we've got a nice dolphin or porpoise dorsal fin right there. They've also got pectoral fins. The pectoral fins are going to be in front of the dorsal fin. So I'm going to start one right about here, and it's going to come down. It's going to kind of curve just like so. So this is sort of a modified triangle, but it curves at the end right here. And and then it also has kind of a curve in here like that. Now, we're going to be able to see in this drawing the pectoral fin on the other side, and the way that I'm going to draw this is just a little rounded triangle that sits just like so. Okay, and there's our other pectoral fin. Now the tail fin is maybe the trickiest part to draw, and what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to do a little curved line just like this, and another little curved line just like that. Now this curved line on the top is not as long. This is because we're looking into space, and that depth makes things shorter, or in the background larger in the front. That's called foreshortening. Now, to do the tail, the caudal fin, I'm going to do a curvy line that kind of comes up like this. You see that? Just a little curve in and then around, just like so. Now, on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing, but because it's a shorter space, it's just going to be a little more dramatic. And there's our caudal fin. He's got a little caudal fin. You can make that bigger if you want. Now, for the head, this is going to be the trickiest part, maybe not. Here I'm going to kind of, where this circle meets this line, it's going to kind of flatten that out a little bit. We want to dip right here, but not too much of one. And then this is going to come down, and right about here, I'm going to give our little Vaquita friend a little lip, just like that. Just a little bump up there. And then since this is going to be sort of a cartoony Vaquita, we're going to have this face, and they actually do look like they're smiling, but we're going to maybe emphasize that a little more and just give it a little bit of a smile, maybe even give a little smile mark there. And then I'm going to give it a bottom lip. This sits a little bit back from the top lip, and then once I get that curve in there, I can just bring it down and just connect it right in here. Okay, I can also kind of just strengthen this line a little bit, as well as this one. I might make this tail a little bigger because it's bothering me. Let's see, here we go. This is the cool thing about doing this. You can sketchy layer. You can be pretty loose with it. You can make some changes when you go over it. Now again, I'm using blue pencil. You want to use like a light pencil and then erase it. Unless you're working digitally, then you can do the same thing as me. Now our Vaquita still needs an eye. Their eyes are kind of right behind their smile. We're going to give him a little circle eye here. Another little circle in there for a highlight. And then we'll just color that in so we can kind of envision that. He's got a big eye. Now, Vaquitas do have some markings on them, and this is a little bit tricky. There's not a lot of photographs of Vaquitas for reference, but the ones I see, there's some variation, but most of them have sort of a dark pattern that comes off their nose, kind of curves around into this smiley face right there, and then maybe another little one here. And then I also noticed that a lot of them have a line that comes down like this, kind of like that, and a little bit of thickness at the end there. Okay, these are our basic markings on the Vaquita. Now, also their pectoral fins are usually dark, almost black, and sometimes it looks like their caudal fin, their tail fin, and their dorsal fin are a little bit darker as well, and sometimes even the top has a little bit more darkness to it, and then the belly is also often very pale. I'm going to do a little bit of coloring at the end of this, and then if you don't want to watch that, you don't have to, but if you want to see me color it, you can just kind of stay tuned. But first I want to go ahead and I want to get our pencil lines in. So now I'm going to go, what I'm going to do is switch layers. That's the advantage of digital art, and then give us a nice pencil-y color here. But what you can do is just draw right over, and then you're just going to erase your lighter lines. So let's see what we've got here. Now I'm going to just kind of trace over what we did, but now I'm just going to really focus on one line and try and get that exactly the way I want it here. Okay, we'll give him this little eye, this little highlight, some cute little eye. Now, here's the thing, guys. Vaquitas are really, really critically endangered. And so you might be wondering, well, what can I do? Well, how can I help the vaquitas. And there are some petitions you can sign online to help extend Mexico's ban of gill netting, that sort of thing. But really, one of the best things you can do is just be aware of these issues and help to spread the word and then make good choices. And what I mean by that is one of the big things that hurts a lot of sea animals is how we fish for seafood. So if you like seafood, then you want to make sure that when you eat it, I'm not saying don't eat seafood, but I'm saying when you do eat seafood, you want to make responsible choices. You want to make sure that the seafood that you're getting is from a reputable company that is fishing or harvesting food or farming food in a sustainable way. And there are a lot of different organizations that kind of keep track of different fisheries and fishermen and stuff like that to tell, and they can tell you which ones are doing in a responsible way. So that's something you can do to really help. I'm going to give him his little markings here. Just going to do an outline of this. There we go. All right. Now, like I said, vaquitas are one of the smallest. They're actually not one of. They are the smallest living cetacean. But they have a lot in common with their larger relatives, the dolphins and other porpoises, things like that. They have similar body shapes. So you could actually use this same technique to draw a lot of other animals. I mean, if you gave it a little horned tooth here, you'd pretty much have a narwhal. There's some little subtle details you can change out. But this is basically it. Now what you want to do is you want to erase your guidelines, okay? So you're just going to erase these guidelines on yours until you have just your darker pencil lines or ink lines if you're using ink, and then you have your vaquita. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and color this vaquita, just kind of a sloppy color. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I just wanted to kind of highlight where some of the colors are on the vaquita. So if you want to stay tuned, keep watching. And by the way, if you do enjoy these tutorials, I would love to see some of your drawings, some of your before and after drawings, especially if you've tried to draw a vaquita or one of these other animals before and then after watching one of these. Did it help? Did it change anything? Does it look the same? I want to know. And also other people would like to see your drawings. It can help encourage them to make their own drawings. And one thing is, though, I want to encourage positive criticism and feedback. If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say it at all. Unless it's constructive criticism, that's always important to be able to take that. Now, I'm going to color his pectoral fins, this dark black color here. Like I said, they are kind of a dark color. And you can color your vaquita with a lot of different media. So you could use crayons, you could use your pencil, kind of like what I'm simulating here. You could use watercolors or acrylics or oil paints. There's a lot of different options out there. Markers that you can use to color your vaquita. Now these are my dark lines here. Now I'm going to use a lighter color to get the next colors. And I'm also going to make my brush a little bit bigger just to save on time. And I'm going to give this vaquita, get a little bigger than that, his coloring. Just kick that way up there so I don't have you on here all day long. Now the vaquita has a lot of interesting colors. It's mostly gray and black and almost a white color, but how they blend together is pretty cool. So one of the things I will say is if you are following along with this coloring portion and you're not using a digital material or pencil, then you might want to use you want to watch the whole thing before you start coloring, because I'm going to do some things that you could get away with pencil or digital that you can't get away with as easily with, like, say, marker or watercolor, because I'm going to color right in where I'm going to add some highlights. Now, if you're using pencil, you can just erase it away, and you can use, like, the side of the pencil. This is kind of what this is like. Also, this looks really sloppy, but that's because I know I can smooth it out. If I was using real pencil, I'm going to color in little circles, and that's going to help create an evener tone when using actual graphite pencils. That works with other media as well. Markers, kind of the same thing. Now, I want to get this belly part, I don't want it to be white, but I want it to be kind of pale, so I'm just going to color this with kind of this pale color here, like so. So vaquitas have this white belly, and I know we've talked about counter shading before, and this is another animal that has counter shading. And if you didn't watch the other videos, that's when an animal is lighter on the underside than on the back, and this is going to help because animals that are looking up at this animal, they're going to see the light coming through the water. It's going to help to camouflage them, but if you're looking down on them, they're going to blend in with the darker colors from the water below. Now, some vaquita seem like they have a darker caudal fin and dorsal fin. And I don't know if that's always the case because there's just not that many photographs out there. And sometimes it doesn't look like that's the case at all. So you do yours however you want. It also looks like sometimes that this kind of black in the front sort of leads into the top here, and they have sort of a dark pigment up here. Okay. And then I'm going to take my eraser now, and I'm just going to erase some highlights. Because these are shiny, wet animals, they've got a lot of highlights, and they really are going to help to make your drawing pop. They usually, with vaquitas, and the way I draw dolphins, things like that, I usually kind of have two. This helps sort of establish things. And now is when I'm going to take a blender, and this could be your finger. It could be a little, they make these little paper blending sticks, and I'm going to blend my colors here to really help make it look nice. All right, here we go. And having these smooth colors are going to help. Another advantage of digital. You can get this effect though with markers or colored pencils, things like that. It's going to help sell that kind of wet look. Okay, I'm even probably going to have to add some more pigment to this fin here because it's kind of lightening up my color a little bit. If you are curious about the vaquita, then look them up, Google them. There's a lot of organizations trying to help them, a lot of aquariums that are doing some work with the vaquita, a lot of different organizations. I encourage you to tell people about them, let them know that we need to make good choices when we are eating our seafood, that sort of thing, so that we can help these guys out. Okay, I'm going to just add a little more darkness to our pectoral fin here. This blending technique, it works a lot like this with real pencils too, by the way. I don't have to have every little space perfect because when I hit this with a blender, it's going to kind of push some of that pigment around a little bit, like so. There we go. Maybe give them a little darker rostrum here as well. There we go. I think I'm going to call that finished right there. Well, again, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed some of the other ones. If you do, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think. Let me know, do you want to see more of these? Do you have any suggestions? Are there any animals that you really want me to do? Just let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.